So I pretty much destroyed my miter saw, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about it yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fix it, or if I can take it in and get it repaired, or if I just have to replace the whole thing. But let me go over what kind of happened with it. First off, this is the DeWalt DW716. So the reason why I picked this model is, well, it's pretty simple really, is I had a friend of mine that had the exact same saw, and I kept borrowing it, and the frequency of me borrowing it was increasing, so I thought it was time for me to go ahead and buy one. And so I thought it'd just be best if I just bought something that I was familiar with, and so I picked up this saw. So this saw has a 12-inch blade, which is one of the larger ones. So the saw is actually quite powerful, and it's actually kind of scary cutting wood, and it's actually terrifying cutting aluminum. So for the blade for aluminum, I picked up the Diablo 12-inch 96 tooth for non-ferrous metals. And before I used this, or before I bought it, I checked the manufacturer notes to see what the maximum RPMs was for this blade. And then I checked to see what the RPMs were for the saw to make sure that I wasn't going to destroy anything. And well, I ended up destroying everything, but that's not by the fault of the blade or the saw. It was more of my fault. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to cut off a corner of a 90, kind of like this one here. And didn't have really a lot of room here to cut the corner off. So as the blade was cutting this, I mean, it was all clamped in, but it still shifted. And as it shifted, the blade caught it and pulled it even more. And then this piece and the blade just kind of all shifted over, kind of destroying this part of the saw. And so you can see here, it was a lot worse, but I've filed it down so it's all smooth now, where the blade kind of cut into this. This piece right here is easily replaceable. I did file it down so I could still use the saw a bit. But then also, you can see how far that blade came over here and caught this as well, and kind of broke this piece, or bent this piece a little bit. So if you move this piece out of the way, you can see that there's a piece in here that I broke. There's a little tab. And what that tab does, basically what that tab does is when you have this guide up, that you can't lift it up like that. So now you can lift it up. So this side, you know, see it locks down, and this side is broken. And also this whole piece here is kind of bent. It's kind of bent in, and so it's no longer square. This bottom piece here is still square, but that tab is broken on the other side here. So I'm not sure if I can replace this piece or this piece. So here you can see what the metal tab looks like on this piece here that broke off on the other side. The main concern is I might have bent something in here where the blade is no longer, or the blade wobbles now. So I'm not sure what's going on right now. I need to get I need to buy a caliper or a dial indicator to kind of see if the blade is true, or if there's something actually bent in here. And so if something's bent in here, then that's the big concern right there. So another piece that broke is a little guide here on the back of the saw. And what happened was the blade warped so bad that it caught the guide here. And this is actually what stopped the blade and completely destroyed it, bent it. I was able to bend it back and get it on the saw so I could just, you know, still get some use out of it. And I did find a replacement piece for this, but I haven't purchased it yet. I don't want to buy any parts for it yet until I can figure out that if it's actually fixable or not. So I don't want to put any more money into it until I know that it can be repaired. So here you can see this piece a little bit better. This is the side that got the most damage. And here's the other side of it, where you can see how it sits on both sides of the blade. And there's a little bit of a tab here. And then on this side of the guide here, you can see that that tab is completely gone. So I did get the saw into a place where I can use it again for the most part, but I'm only using it to cut wood right now. There seems to be a little bit of a vibration, and so what I'm worried about, if I'm trying to cut aluminum, that the blade is going to kind of warp over to a place where it hasn't been cutting, and the blade will catch and then pull the blade over and have the whole thing happen again. So until I can take everything apart and try to figure out what's really going on, and then get a dial indicator, I have to buy one of those and just kind of see where everything's at, then I can probably start using it again to cut aluminum. So this saw really isn't made for cutting metal. Metal saws usually have like a little clamp here to clamp the pieces in to prevent what happened to my saw here. And then also there's a vent here that I think metal saws have this all sealed up. You can see that I have like a box over here because I was getting some metal chips that were kind of flying in here. So I wanted to make sure that nothing got into where the motor was. So here's the culprit that caused all the problems. This is a 2" 90, and I was trying to cut off the corner here so it would fit with the window and the window panel. And so I have 4 of these, 1 on each corner of the window panel. And so this bolts into the rail here, and then the window panel bolts into the bracket. And so this is just a temporary solution until I can figure out the mechanism that I want to hold the windows in. So here's the actual piece that broke the saw. These are all kind of scrap 90s that I had. And so you can see how the blade started to cut and then kind of grabbed over here and then kind of came in and cut over there, and then the whole thing shifted and it just kind of destroyed the saw. So a very expensive little scrap piece of 90. So there you have it. I was a little reluctant to post this video because I'm probably going to get hammered in the comments. But I thought someone could learn from my mistake where I was probably cutting a piece that was too small for the saw, and I didn't have it clamped down well enough. Anyways, lesson learned, expensive lesson learned. But now I got to come up with a new way to cut aluminum to get the things moving again with the camper. So hopefully I'll get that figured out here soon. And until then, I'll see you guys on the next one.